Hello everyone, I'm Natalie and welcome back to my channel. So today is going to be my first video for the psychosocial development stages by Erikson and how they relate to the houses. So for this video I'm going to talk about the first two stages in Erikson's theory of psychosocial development. And I'm going to relate them to the first house, the second house, and the third house. So basically the first quadrant of the house system in astrology. So I got some notes here. So I'm going to be reading off of these, so that's probably why I'm going to be looking down. The first stage in Erikson's theory is trust versus mistrust. And this stage revolves around early childcare from parents. If our needs are met during this stage, we build trust with our caregivers. And this trust forms the basis of future relationships. And it sets the stage for a lifelong expectation that the world will be a good and pleasant place to live. So there needs to be consistency in caretaking. And children, or I guess infants, because this stage takes place in infancy, who are not taken care of during this stage develop a sense that others are not to be trusted. So they can become suspicious of others or develop feelings of isolation from others. The second stage in Erikson's psychosocial development theory is autonomy versus shame and doubt. And this is the stage of exploration and learning what we have control over. It's about discovering that your behavior is your own, and realizing your will and asserting your independence. So caregivers that encourage this independence allow children to move around and explore, which leads to learning, which ultimately leads to developing a sense of autonomy and self-confidence. So caregivers who punish or restrict this independence cause the children to experience self-doubt, which just hinders their natural urge to explore, and it causes them to be timid. So the first house in astrology is really about learning who you are, learning about you. You kind of form your identity this way. And if you have planets in your first house, these add more elements to the expression of your personality. It's your ascendant, and it's kind of like your jumping off point throughout your life and throughout your whole chart. This is like the steps that you take in your approach to the world. The second house supports your identity in the sense that it adds a value to it. It adds like a support to it. It's how you nurture and care for this identity, how you support it with the value, with the worth, the self-worth and self-value that you put into yourself and into your own identity. And the third house is the house where you develop a sense of expression, and it's like where you get your voice and how you speak your mind, how you communicate, and how you are able to interact with the world and your immediate environment and learn from this environment and from the world. You build more like social interactions and relationships, and it's your chance to kind of explore and discover more. So the reason that I feel like these two stages go along with these three houses is because these two stages obviously put that foundation into how you're going to go about the next stages in the theory, in the psychosocial development theory. And these three houses kind of set a foundation for your chart, how strong your identity can be in the rest of your chart. So relating it to this theory, you can kind of get a sense of the care that you had from your parents and how restrictive it was, how much they encouraged you to express yourself, to build this kind of confidence within yourself, and to really like explore your entire environment. So if you have like malefic planets in these houses, so if it's like your first house, it could show some kind of neglect in something that was really important for your identity, in like cultivating your identity and your perception of the world. If it's in your second house, it could have to do with your own security and your value. You probably didn't have a consistent sense of stability or security within your home, within your upbringing, to where it could support your identity. If it's in your third house, it could show a restrictive environment, in the sense where like you couldn't go out and explore the world and be more social, be more talkative, be more outgoing. And in this, you know, going back to like the theory, how it says that caretakers who encourage this, it equals learning for the children. They learn more, they see more. And say you have a malefic planet in your third house to where you kind of weren't encouraged to do that, you probably have trouble learning, picking up on information because of that, because no one encouraged you to have that sense of independence and go out and see things, at least in your immediate environment or with your siblings or your neighborhood, because that's also what the third house rules over. So I think if you have really strong houses like in your first quadrant, that can be really beneficial in continuing on with the rest of your chart, because it helps set that foundation of confidence, of having the ability to assert yourself and know who you are and knowing what you are capable of. But I guess if you have a heavy first or second or third house, it could also keep you trapped in that first quadrant of where it's just all about you. Like you want everything to revolve around you, and you can be kind of selfish or childish in the sense where you need to have your needs met first before you can even consider anyone else, because the next houses in the house system are where we start to include more people in our interactions, in our world, and in our life. But these first three quadrants are really about kind of you. And so if you have a lot going on in these houses in this quadrant, you can kind of stay stuck in that mindset of just thinking about yourself and your own needs. And this can also be true if you have those malefic planets there, because your needs maybe weren't met in certain ways when you were little. So growing up, you think about your needs and meeting them first because that was kind of lacking in your childhood. Or it could be that because they weren't met in your childhood, you kind of just neglect yourself. So that can show too. So it's important to have the needs of these houses met, because they really form your identity and security and expression of your identity. And it can be really hard to go on to other quadrants when you don't have a sense of who you are, or you're unable to express who you are, or really find a value in who you are. So look to see what you've got in these houses. Even if you don't have anything in any of them or all three of them, the signs tell you how they're going to play out and how you build this foundation within yourself, this foundation of your identity, basically. So that's going to kind of tell you maybe what happened in these early stages of your life. And, you know, if you relate it back to astrology the way I'm doing, it can kind of tell you like how this foundation was built for you, in the sense of your like immediate environment and caregivers, and what they allowed and what they didn't allow for you. So I hope that this was interesting, and I hope that you liked this, and I hope you're excited to see the rest of them, because I'm excited to talk about them. So thank you for watching this, and I'll see you next time.